Hello, all of my crafty friends. It's Kiona, the craft therapist. If you are one of my old time friends, I'm so glad that you are still here. If you're a new friend, welcome, and I hope that you will stick around for the journey. I know that it's not normal for you to see my face, but I wanted to pop in just so that you can know that I'm still here and I'm still real. I wanted to do a video today to kind of give you an update on where I have been. It's been quite a while since I've created content, and it's something that I really wanted to get back to. I really miss the community. So I wanted to take a little bit of time today to do a video to talk your ear off about where I've been and where I'm hoping to go. So as I turn the camera down and start to create, I'm not going to actually take you through the process of this video. I'm going to actually talk to you about where I have been. One of the things that I would love, because I love talking to you all in the comment section, is for you to give me 3 words that would describe your last 12 months and why. And I'll give you my 3 words as I start chatting your ear off about where I've been, where I am, and where I'm hoping to go. So, without chatting your ear off anymore while I'm facing you, I'm going to go ahead and turn the camera down and we will continue our conversation while I create. Again, I'm so glad to be back and I'm so glad that you stopped by to be a part of this with me. All right, let's get started.
Okay, so we're wondering kind of, Kiona, where have you been? Um, I guess I have to rewind all the way back to like 2022-ish, I guess. Um, so prior to that, I think at the beginning of COVID and things like that, it was a lot easier to do recording. Life was really slow pace. I was really enjoying it, and it really was helping me to function during COVID and not become super anxious about what was going on in our world. At the end of 2020, I had two significant losses in my life. My paternal grandmother passed away, um, and then my stepfather passed away probably a month after. And so that really, as much as I didn't think it would have as significant of an impact, it really did. Um, and I worked through that a good bit, I think, during 2021. Um, in 2021, I went into a different type of work. So that was another thing for you all who don't know, I am a therapist, and during COVID, I was a therapist in a child care facility. Probably one of my favorite jobs I have ever had, although I never thought that I would want to work in a daycare facility. So that was really great. And I transitioned to working with adults, and that kind of shifted my hours and things like that. It was still a wonderful opportunity working with the military population, but definitely took on some additional time. I also relaunched my private practice during that time, and that took some time. So I was kind of getting to the place of having some difficulty with balance, I think, and I didn't really notice that initially. Um, and so those types of things started taking on more of a prominent role for me. And then things were starting to open back up, and I know my family was kind of going stir crazy, although I am probably as introverted as they come. So I was not concerned at all about being stuck in the house during COVID. And so then in 2021, my husband also made the decision that he was going to retire from the military. And this was about 2 years, 18 months to 2 years out from retirement. However, this was a significant concern for me. And I say concern not necessarily in a bad way, but my entire adult life, we had been a part of the military community. And the idea of not having that anymore really did hit me a lot more significantly than I had ever thought that it would. And so there was a lot of internal work that I had to start doing. I struggled with really identity as well because I figured at that point that I had really prided myself on being a military spouse, being a part of the military community, as much as I had never really given it thought. Um, like it wasn't like a badge of honor. I think it was just something that I embraced. And so that was some transition that I started working with, although my husband was completely gun ho. He was ready. My husband was a first sergeant during that time. That was really significant in our life because it was like having 150 children. He was constantly on the go, constantly getting calls, constantly being pulled away. And so it just kind of created a lot in our family dynamics. And so we continued to work in that way. And I noticed that my videos were getting slower and slower. Um, and not just my videos, but there was coming a time when I was actually crafting less. And crafting has always been kind of my centering, my therapeutic space, my my thing as a clinician to take care of myself. And so I should have kind of known during that time that I was starting to unravel a little bit. Um, but nonetheless, I did not pay enough attention. And at the end of 2021, I took a promotion for my job, which I always thought was great. You know, you're always wanting to move up, those should be your goals. That proved to be a significant amount of additional stress for me. So 2022 was kind of crazy with the work end and really beginning this transition. And one of the things that was really important for me during the transition was that all of our family members, everybody needed to go into therapy. I needed to do therapy for me and my husband. So, because as much as this was a great transition. This was going to be a positive for our family. This was going to be the end of an era, a goal, a mission completed. I knew that with my husband having been in the military to some capacity for 22 years, it was going to be a significant transition for him to slow down, become a part of the civilian world, really incorporate himself into our family dynamics fully. And so I didn't know exactly what we were needing to prepare for, but I knew that we needed to prepare. So there was a lot of, therapy and, talking about transition, and that really took a front seat for me. Um, we had some interesting dynamics occurring with my oldest son and religion, which, for those of you who know me, I am a devoted Christian. I love my religion. I love God. It is, um, it is my thing. And so having a kind of religious turmoil crisis in our family almost took me out of here. It was so much stress. Like by the time we were getting to the mid end of 2022, more so than trying to work through transitioning out of the military, I was really at the point of a mental health crisis myself because I felt like I just had no outlet. Everything was creating intense stress for me. The transition from the military, situations with our children, my second son going off to college early, my daughter coming into teen years, and all of the hormonal changes and the intensity of her mood. It was so much going on for me that I was really, really struggling to just function from day to day. And then at the end of 2022, our families initial plan was to remain in New York and stay there until our second son got out of college. And then we would decide where our forever home was going to be. Well, toward the end of 2022, we were notified by the military that we would not have the opportunity to remain on the installation where we lived at that time, which was huge for us because I did not feel that the area that we lived in was really conducive to raising a teenage daughter, a teenager in general. So I was not comfortable with remaining in that area, not living on the installation. So then came this like huge thing of, well, where do we want to live? Like, what are we going to do? My husband had lost his parents. I'd lost my parents. Neither of us really felt like we had a quote unquote home. So home was going to be wherever we chose. And so we had always thrown around the idea of going to Alaska, living in Alaska. And we had never actually been to Alaska. So one of the things that we decided was, well, maybe we should go visit and see. And so September of 2022, we went to Alaska for a few weeks to kind of visit and see what it was like. And our whole family really fell in love with it. And I think to me at that point in time, it felt like it was a fresh start and something that we really needed. Because, like I said, I had really been struggling myself during that time. And so when we returned, we made the decision that we were going to move to Alaska. And so that gave us from about October to March to get all the things done and figure out how do you literally move across the country. And that meant like jobs because my job was not a job that was west of the Mississippi. The job that he really wanted was based in Florida, and there weren't any opportunities in Alaska. And as we kind of were starting to do research, a lot of companies, a lot of agencies really did not want to talk to you until you were actually in the state of Alaska. But nevertheless, God really worked things out really well for us. We both were able to secure employment. I was able to actually stay with my job, and his dream company somehow there kind of popped up a job for that, which is a whole nother story in and of itself. But all of that to say, like, God really worked it out, and I really felt like this was the move that we were really supposed to be making. So in March of 2023, we left the East Coast. Well, actually, it was February. We left New York, drove down to South Carolina, spent a little bit of time with my family, and then we took a cross country trip from South Carolina to Washington State, and then flew to Alaska and started our retirement in Alaska. So that was an entire situation. The transition, although we love it, we're really grateful that we had it. The transition with my husband out of the military was a very difficult one because it was everything that I thought, trying to reintegrate, trying to learn how to do family in this way, really trying to find purpose and new meaning, and really going from a highly structured environment to the civilian environment was very difficult for him. We had some significant mental health crises in 2024, and I believe that has been a lot of like repressed trauma and difficulty with emotions and things of that sort. And so uh, the first year and a half of our transition was very trying in so many ways, from family dynamics to our marriage to individually having a veteran who has a lot of anxiety and PTSD and things of that sort. Um, and so it was a lot of work that we have had and are still continuing to navigate with our family. We are getting to a place now where we are um, stabilizing. I'll say stabilizing is the best way to put it now. And it just had been really on my heart that I wanted to be back into my crafting community, but I didn't really know how I wanted to return to the crafting community because I do struggle with social media and all the negatives and all the things that are there that I actually don't want to see. I don't like ads. I don't watch the news. So it's a struggle. It's a real balance. But over the last like 6 months or so, I've really gotten back into creating and slowly like reintroducing myself to like social media and things like that. And I've really been missing the crafting community and I missed like creating content. But I think that the thing that I really missed was like when I first started doing crafting, like that community of people who got together and crafted and talked about pretty paper and really supported each other in a positive space. And so I've been kind of going back and forth with like what would I want it to look like if I really began to come back into the crafting space. Um, and I'm kind of still on the fence about some of that because, I'm really passionate about mental health. I know how much creating and crafting has helped me in some of the most difficult times of my life. Um, for those of you who don't know, I actually started crafting and creating cards as a way to help me process and grieve the death of my mother. And as a therapist during that time, I was like unraveling and I had really hit a very difficult space and I didn't know how to navigate it even as a professional. And so finding a crafting community was so instrumental. Finding creating as a whole, not even the community, because I didn't have a community when I first started, but just being able to create, being able to do this thing on a regular basis really was so instrumental for me. And so I know the power that crafting has. I know the power that a positive community of crafters has. And so, I think about crafting, I think about mental health, I think about, my beliefs and my religion and how much those things altogether like really play such a significant role in helping me cope and stay balanced even in the midst of very trying times. And so I feel like a big goal for me is how do I create a supportive space that is centered around creating, because I truly believe I am definitely not the only person out there that uses crafting in that way. And so, kind of for me, coming back into this is, really wanting to do something my style, but that uses my gifts. And so I've just kind of been thinking about it. I love doing Zooms. I love doing challenges. I love doing giveaways. I love doing videos, so all of those things are things that I've loved. I really want to begin a Mental Health Monday series where, probably doing a pre recorded, but I think I would be open to doing a live as well where I'm creating kind of like I am now and just talking about a topic of mental health, whether that be psychoeducation on a particular diagnosis or a particular therapy style, whether that be talking about specific coping strategies that are available for individuals, whatever the case may be, to help support individuals who are either supporting others, family members and caregivers, or who are struggling with things themselves, would be an ideal thing for me. So I've been thinking that I want to do a Mental Health Monday series. And then I've been thinking that I want to do either a Faith Fridays or a Savior Sunday, something like that. You can see that I'm all about these like catchy words or phrases, right? But that's kind of where I want to go with my channel, or kind of coming back into a creative space. And so um, that's kind of what I've been thinking about. I would love to hear any feedback on what would be something that you feel like we're missing in the crafting community. What would you like to see? Um, because I want to make it, I'm not looking for a large community. I'm so okay with close knit and connectedness. I think that that's actually what I want. And so coming back to YouTube or to social media isn't about getting numbers or likes or comments or subscribers or whatever the case may be. I'm so okay with that faithful few. I just want to have something that is helpful and beneficial for the faithful few. And so I'd love to hear. The other thing that I was thinking about was posing a question for you all. I want to know if you could describe your last 12 months in 3 words. What 3 words would you use, and why? And I kind of gave some thought to that. And I think that I came up with be still, impatient, and broken. Um, and so I'll start with broken because I think that it's almost a year now. Um, we had a situation happen in my family, and for me it kind of really broke down everything that I thought was real in my life. And so this past 12 months has really been kind of a shattering, and really considering what a rebuilding, rebranding looks like. And part of that has been working to figure out how the rebuilding happens. Um, and then be still, because that is kind of the summary that I've gotten every time that I wanted to run or to flee or whatever the case may be. It's just kind of been this real like be still, just be still. And I found that I really have a lot of work in that area of being still and impatient, because I need to see something happen right now. And I have learned that I'm a very impatient person, and impatience can lead to impulsivity very quickly if we are not careful. And so that has been something that I've truly learned about myself through these tests and trials that I've had over the last year. And so those would be my 3 words to kind of describe where I have been in the last 12 months. And I want to hear what that looks like for you all. So in the comments, send me a message. I like to chat with you all in the comments section. And tell me what would be your 3 words for the past 12 months, and why. Um, and so I am really glad that I did this, and I'm really glad for those of you who stopped by, and I'm really grateful for those of you that will give me feedback, and we'll see kind of where this goes from here. Um, and yeah, as we're wrapping up this video and this card that I created, um, I just want to say that it feels incredibly nice to be back here and doing this again. I forgot how much I enjoyed card making and video making and pseudo chatting with you all. And I'm definitely looking forward to doing so much more of that in the future. I don't really know what a schedule would look like either. So, any of those things that you want to drop in the comments, whether that be, scheduling, the kind of things that you would like to see, what platforms you would like to use, topics that you would like to talk about, other things that you might want to see, I am all ears to hear what it is that you all have. So, I'm really grateful that you all stopped by. I'm really grateful to still have this channel and to be able to share things with you all. Um, and I'm so excited to see where things are going. So, my hope is that later this week, I am going to either record or maybe attempt a live for you all, and we will see what that turns out to be. But we've got this one down, and so I think that this is a success. Um, but I can't wait to hear from you all. I'm really grateful that we have done this, and I really like the way that this card turned out. I hope that you all have enjoyed the video, and I am really going to be looking forward to speaking with you, and chatting with you in the comments here in the near future. Have a great day, everyone. All right. Bye bye.